7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Are you listening?
Ricky J Sports.
What is going on, my fellow YouTubers? This is Ricky J, baby, from Ricky J Sports, and welcome to a special video about what's next for BJ Penn. But before we get into that, I want to send out a quick shout out to a subscriber of mine by the name of Jika. He said, "Hey, Ricky, give me a shout out," and you know what? It's always an honor to send a shout out to my subscribers. I love you guys. I also want to talk about Grayson Cade's comment. In one of my recent videos, I was talking to you guys about what would be your UFC nickname if you were a UFC fighter, and all you guys were giving such clever nicknames, and then Grayson took it upon himself because I didn't say what my nickname would be, and he said Ricky the Tummy Tickler J, and that's so funny. I was laughing out loud because when I make my videos and I do a lot of body shots, I call it belly tickling or tummy tickling, so I found it so funny. But anyhow, let's get back on track. While this video is going on, I'm going to show you guys some online ranked fights of me using BJ Penn. Win or lose, enjoy the fights, and I'll talk about BJ Penn. So, talking about BJ, I don't want to be a spoiler, so if you haven't seen the fight from the other day between BJ Penn and Yair Rodriguez, pause this video, go watch it, and then come back. But that fight was crazy. I think Yair Rodriguez is amazing. He's going to do some damage in the featherweight division. He seemed like a longer version of Conor McGregor with all of his crazy kicks. Even he kind of reminded me of a young John Jones, too. But he took BJ Penn to town. BJ Penn looked like he was in survival mode from the moment the fight started. Even though BJ did have a couple of nice little right-hand shots in there, he didn't really have an offense on Yair, and the fight ended. And BJ was so angry that it was an early stoppage. I think when you absorb like 25 punches and you don't do anything, I think it's a good stoppage. And I think it was a good stoppage. Let me know if you thought it was a good stoppage. But BJ needs to walk away. In his last fight prior to this, he lost to Frankie Edgar, and he came into that fight with some weird technique. He was standing upright. He kind of reminded me of Don Flamingo from the Mike Tyson Punch-Out days, but he really just didn't seem like the same BJ Penn. And then in this fight, he seemed slow. He didn't have that same explosiveness that he had in his older fights. And that's the thing. Speaking of older, BJ Penn's 38 years old, and you can't mess with father time. Yes, you could say you're good in the training session, you're good on the mats with your training partners, but training is not the same thing as a fight, and he can't keep on coming back. He hasn't won a fight since 2010, where he beat basically a washed-up Matt Hughes. He did win, kudos to BJ, in 21 seconds. But ever since then, he lost to Nick Diaz, Rory McDonald, Frankie Edgar, and now Yair Rodriguez. And I just think it's his time, man. Some guys, there's fighters out there, just ask Ken Shamrock, that just think that they still got it in them. And people need to tell him, people around him need to tell him that it's your time to walk away. Because we all know that BJ Penn's a Hall of Famer. He won the welterweight belt back in the day, and then he also won the lightweight belt. But it was different back then. Now, guys need to work up the ranks in order to get a title shot. When BJ Penn got his title shot against Matt Hughes, it was crazy because he was fighting at lightweight, and then he decided to move up in weight and challenge Matt Hughes, and then he won the belt, but then he had a contract dispute with the UFC, so he left, and then he ended up fighting like guys like Lyoto Machida, man. So that's crazy how BJ would move up in weight class. I think it was in the middleweight division. No, I think it was at light heavyweight. And that's nuts because he's a lightweight. And then he lost to Machida. Then he came back and fought GSP, and it was a great fight at UFC 58. Back and forth battle, lost by decision. Then he lost to Matt Hughes, and then he dropped down in weight and captured the lightweight belt, going on a 3-fight win streak, beating Jens Pulver, Joe Stevenson. Oh, that Joe Stevenson fight. Remember when that blood was gushing from Joe's forehead like a fire hydrant? It was crazy. Then he beat Sean Shirk, and then he got cocky, thought he was, big time, and tried to challenge GSP. Remember that at UFC 94? It was champion versus champion, and then he lost round 4 TKO stoppage. But then he did well, continuing to defend his belt, and then he ran into Frankie Edgar, and then the rest was history. He beat Matt Hughes, and then he went on a losing streak. But I think BJ Penn, people say like he didn't actually reach his full potential. I think BJ could have done a little bit more, but he did try, man. He did bring guys in. I can't remember those training guys. I'm probably saying the name wrong, but the Marinovich guys, the Marinovich brothers, to train him. They train football players for conditioning and that. He did his best, and Jason Perillo to work on his boxing. I think BJ Penn was at his prime when he came back and dropped down in weight. Yes, when he won the lightweight belt and started beating Jens Pulver, Stevenson, and Shirk. That's when he was at his prime. Let me know what you guys think when you think BJ was at his prime. Now he's dropped in weight class to 145 to try to challenge for the featherweight belt, man. And I think when guys start dropping weight, that's when you know it's a sign that it's on the downward spiral of that guy's career. A lot of guys that have done it have not succeeded. Ask Kenny Florian. Kenny Florian tried it. He went down to 145, tried to challenge Jose Aldo for his belt and lost. Even, this is an old school, but Mike Quick Swick. Remember Mike Quick Swick back in the day? He was taking out guys in the 185 division. Then he lost. He lost some fights, and then he decided to go down to 170 to see if he can challenge GSP, and that weight cut was just too much for him, and he wasn't the same fighter, didn't have the same power, same explosiveness, and that's crazy because you can't move down in weight and expect to dominate. You know what I mean? But ask Damian Maia. Damian Maia is doing actually very well, going from 185 to 170. Hopefully he gets a title shot sometime soon. But he's just not marketable, man. But anyhow, that's a topic for another video. But usually 90% of the guys that drop down in weight do not succeed. So for BJ Penn, against Frankie Edgar back in 2014, he said he was going to retire, and then he decided to come back thinking he had it in him to make one last push. He just needs to go. I'm a fan of BJ Penn. I was always a fan of GSP, but I respect BJ for what he's done for the sport. But I just think it's time, man. It's time for him to retire because that last fight was embarrassing, and he's got to open the door for guys like Yair Rodriguez. But let me know in the comment section below what you think should be next for BJ Penn, and please don't say he should join the WWE. But I just think it's time for him to hang it up, call it a career, relax. You have a ton of money, and you have nothing to worry about. So let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of this video of updating you guys on the current events of the mixed martial arts world. All right, people, this is Ricky J, baby, from Ricky J Sports. Thank you so much for your support, and as always, you are us.
We have our official decision, and here's Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. Judge 1 scores the contest, 30-27, Penn. Judge 2 scores it, 9-28, Nurmagomedov. And Judge 3 scores it, 9-28. Declared the winner by split decision, the Prodigy, BJ